Hi there, this is MJ from Mirrored Wellness, the podcast about mirroring others' skillful habits so we can become our best empowered selves. We'll talk about tips, hacks, and some personal journeys along the way. So join me for today's topic. Let's dive in. Hello everyone, this is MJ from Mirrored Wellness. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you listening. Last couple of podcasts, we talked about the procrastination. We talked about how it hurts us and the fears surrounding it. And basically some tips on how to kind of eliminate some of the procrastination. It's never going to be 100%, but it definitely helps to have some tips in order to move forward. This one, I have been really excited about this one. This one comes with a caution. It comes with a little warning. We're going to talk about the dark side today. The way we can use our anger towards a good cause, to propel ourselves forward. So last week we talked about procrastination and how it holds us back. Today we're gonna talk about how to really get that momentum forward. Now, a little side story on the dark side. I actually decided to do this particular subject because I fully admit I have moments of anger, and up until very recently did not know how to really harness the power of the dark side. And I'm going to say a warning to this because just like in Star Wars, and I know there's probably a couple of you rolling your eyes, but you cannot talk about the dark side without talking about Star Wars. And as much of a big fan as I am of Star Wars, I'm not a perfectionist. Like, I don't know everything about it, but I get the gist, right? I loved all of what Star Wars did, even the new ones. I know. So I really, really enjoyed learning about the dark side via Star Wars, but we'll get back to that in a moment. So I'm going to leave you with a quote. There's two quotes I want to talk about in this podcast today, and I apologize ahead of time. This is probably going to be slightly longer, and if I get any questions or anything like that, we might turn this into two, depending into two, like the procrastination one as well. The first quote I'm going to say is by C.G. Zhang, and it states, "How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole." So that's basically saying that you need the light and the dark. You need both, right? How much of each? We'll get into that, right? So it's channeling the energy correctly in order to propel yourself forward and not hinder anything that's come from it. And then I'm going to leave you also with this quote from Kylo Ren from Star Wars when he says to Rey, "The dark side is in our blood." Slight spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but he's talking about their lineage, right? They both have dark side in their literally in their blood. And this applies to us all. But really what I want to point out with that quote is that Rey does go on to prove, again, spoiler alert, to prove that she can tame this. This is something that she can really work with. So I think for sure this is something that we can all work with. And I'm going to give you a few tips in order to do that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is I would like to say the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule, if you've never heard of it, there is a book out there called the 80-20 Principle, I believe, and it is by Richard, I think it's Koch, Koch. Of course, I will put it in the show notes for you, like I always do. Put that in there for reference so that you can read it if you feel like you need to. But the 80-20 rule states that 80% of the results come from 20% of the causes, or 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. This means that let's put it in perspective of a business, right? 20% of your clients are 80% of your revenue, right? And usually what some business analysts or coaches will tell you is to focus heavily on those 20%. With anger or with the dark side, we really need that 20% in order to learn, in order to stay humble, we need to fail in order to learn. So even though we would like to just be happy and whatever for the whole 100% of the time, it's not realistic. But how do we use that crappy negative anger part? Well, first we need to recognize why we're angry. So that is step number one. Why are we angry? So recently I had a debacle, if you want to call it that, of I ran into a situation where I did not plan well enough for a situation, and I was potentially going to be, well, without a home, without a place to live. This made me extremely angry at myself, not anybody else, but myself. And I wasn't sure what to do with this anger, because it was nobody else's fault but my own that I failed to plan correctly. I was upset. I was crying. It took me 2 full days, to be honest, to really figure out what I wanted to learn from this experience and how to move on. And this is why I wanted to do this podcast on the dark side, because I feel like if I'm struggling, someone else out there is also struggling with the anger or the dark side part. And I've been here so many times, but this is a more recent dark side example, so I'm just going to use it. So why was I mad? I was mad because I failed to plan. I failed to plan ahead. I really thought I had more time than I did, and I didn't. So I didn't read the signs. I didn't plan ahead enough. I didn't put enough aside in order for emergencies, and that's what I learned from it. So I recognized it, accepted the fact that I was mad. That's very important, because if you're not accepting that this is what's going on, you're gonna have a hard time moving past it. So recognition is huge. And for me, it was huge. I mean, it took me 2 days to recognize the fact that that's why I was in a crappy mood. Everybody was like, what is your problem? And I was like, I don't know. Duh. Anyway, so you're going to recognize it. I'm sorry I said that over and over, but you're going to recognize it. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to try to reframe. So I am a huge, huge fan of a podcast called Impact Theory. Tom Bilyeu is the interviewer, the founder of Impact Theory, along with his wonderful, beautiful wife, Lisa Bilyeu. He talks back in 2017 in an AMA session about the dark side. Somebody asked him a question. For the life of me, I cannot remember off the top of my head, but the way that he answers is he says, anger can be a gift because it is something to push back against. So we're going to go back to that 80-20 rule, right? 20% negative and self-doubt is needed to be humble and to learn, because what is failure but a learning experience, right? And if you're not reframing failure as a learning experience, all failure is just a way to make you sad. And if it doesn't serve you, reframe it, right? And this is exactly what we're doing with the dark side. We're reframing it. So the way I like to explain this is when you're swimming in like a pool, right? And when you're swimming and you're doing laps, when you get to the end, you're pushing against that wall. That is what Tom is talking about, that push. That anger, that dark side gives you a wall to push against. It could be something that you did that made you angry at yourself. It could also be something that somebody else did. Say somebody wronged you at work, or they took a project from you and they called it their own, or multiple other things that could happen. It could be totally out of your control, but you're going to be angry, and it's okay to be angry, but it's better to be able to reframe it. One of the things, and I caution against starting this, because again, if you know anything about Star Wars, the deeper you get into that dark side, the harder it is to get out. So really short bursts of using it is huge. And when I say short bursts, I mean like don't live in it. Don't lean into it. Like what we're doing, you're going to recognize it, and we're reframing it. And then the third one really is to use it, but with caution, right? So that anger is that push off of the pool, right? And the rest of the effort is the pull, right? You're swimming to the next side, and then you get to the end, and then there it is again, that wall. There's something else there, right? That's an obstacle. Just like any other thing that you're doing, you're always going to walk along the path and have something. If there's no obstacle in your way and it's too easy, most of the time you're not going to appreciate getting to where you're going. So it really is important to have that mindset, or that frame of mind where you can say, even though this sucks, it's really going to propel me forward. And that's really what the dark side is all about. I could go on and on about the dark side in Star Wars, but I'm going to leave you with one more of these moments. So in the Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine says to Anakin, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. There has been a lot of people, and I don't know if this is a subject that has really been talked about a lot, but really knowing who in your life is people who support you, but also on the other end, you need that wall, right? Like I was saying, you need that wall to push against for that 20% momentum. Those people who don't believe in what you're doing or where you're going and don't believe in you, that's your wall. That obstacle is your wall. So when you're able to really harness but not live in the dark side, but have it in the back of your mind that this is like something, I mean, it cannot be 100. Again, to not live in it, it can't be 100% of your why. But some little moments where you're like down in the dumps and you can't figure out what you want to do, or it's a really crappy day and you're like, forget why you're even doing this. It's nice to get that wall to look at and go, okay, well, these people said I couldn't do it, so I'm gonna do it. That's the dark side right there. That moment of, I would consider it spite, which I'm Italian, so I'm very good at. That moment is super awesome to use. But again, living in it will wreak havoc. If you look at the newer Star Wars, like Kylo Ren, I mean, he lived in it. He succumbed to it. He had all this anger and this resentment, and that really started a lot of his downfall. And it really did nothing but hurt him and a lot of other people. And that's exactly what we're saying, not to stay in that, but to use it in the back. Use it when you need to. So when I was having those couple of days where I felt sorry for myself, I sat down, I recognized, I journaled the crap out of it, and I came up with the fact that what I needed to learn, and I sat down and I made a plan, and I executed. It ended up, okay in the long run. I made it out just fine, but that momentum from the dark side, that momentum from me being angry, just being like, no, I'm going to conquer this. I'm not going to stay here. This is not a thing that I'm going to be, whatever, and I'm going to make this work as much as I can. That really propelled me out of it. But I did also need that lighter side, that even though these people don't believe in me, I'm running towards those people over there that support me, if that makes any sense. So you're pushing off of that wall when you're swimming, that 20%, but you're really reaching out for the other side of the pool, well, you might have some support. So that, my friends, is the dark side. Again, I have so many notes on this. I could probably do a whole nother podcast maybe next week on, or at another time, if this is something that you're really interested in. If it's something you want to learn more about, let me know. We'll do another one. I really enjoyed doing a lot of research on this one. I'm not sure how this will translate out to you. Again, reach out if you have any questions, or if something comes up and you just don't feel like it's right. I will leave show notes I'll leave show notes for you. It will have the book. It will have the link to at least the YouTube version of the AMA session for of Impact Theory. And there is so much Star Wars stuff out there. I will just say Star Wars is a huge dark side thing. Like, the two movies really that the one that I quoted the most, I would have to say, is Revenge of the Sith. That was the one with Palpatine, and the newer ones had Kylo Ren, the Disney dark sides, I would say. But like and subscribe if you like. Next week we're gonna do a little experiment. We're gonna talk more about abundance. We're gonna flip the script on abundance, and we're gonna talk about money and business and personal life, because this is really why I had to use the dark side, because I have an abundancy problem. Have reframed an abundancy problem. So we're going to talk about that next week. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. Let me know if you like the podcast. Let me know if you hate the podcast. Let me know if you have questions. We'll connect. Thank you so much for listening, and be a beautiful human. As always, thank you for listening. I appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe if this adds value. Tell your friends, send them my way. And my hope is that you can be the best you. Take a deep breath, because we got this.